And we're doing it live now. So, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Outer Coincidence. And I'm Greg. I'm joined by Robbie. And Mr. Color Me Skeptical this week. What's going on, man? How have you been?
Shoot, just hitting it wide open, trying to get the aquaponics back in place.
Full tilt like a Peterbilt?
It's a farm thing, you know. I guess that I didn't realize over the last few years how much work this was going to be.
Yeah.
And it has whipped my butt here in the last couple of weeks, I'll tell you.
Oh man, it is a chore. I've been traveling a bunch lately, so it's like traveling on seeing what some solutions stuff is, and went to this exit and build and went to Joel Salatin's farm. I think I told you about that. And I think the model is to be an independent, kind of go back to what Jefferson was talking about. And what Joel Salatin has created there is a really good model for adopting a new, it's not new, it's like the old way of doing things.
Yeah. And
it's like kind of like the nature's way of doing things, which is like
a new way of looking at the old paradigm.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like rotating the animals in the pasture and giving the land enough time to rest before you bring them back through. And that's the way that they operate over there. And it's like healing the land and it's building the soils.
Right.
And so, I think that's the way to go, man. And talking about building communities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got away from that for a couple of years and actually donated my fish to Wallace State up there for the aquaponics and whole 9 yards. But excuse me, this year, I don't know, I felt the compulsion to get it back up and going.
Good thing, I think,
because
of what we're going to talk about tonight. I think, it's a good thing to focus on is your food for sure.
Yeah. I mean, even though supposedly they're cutting back on chemical stuff in the food, we sure ain't seeing the results of it right now, and I doubt we will for a good long time if we ever do. I like I say, color me skeptical. I'm gonna wait and see on that one, and there's a couple of other things that I'm gonna have to wait and see that I'm color skeptical on as well.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the technocracy in our past episodes, and I think tonight we're kind of seeing as there is a Palantir, I guess, announcing that they're going to be bringing and tying all these various databases together. So have you heard about that?
Right. Well, I hadn't looked into the specifics of what databases they're going to tie together, but I did do some cursory stuff on it. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like to me that what we have going on is a switch in the guard between who's the kingpin player in the AI tech. So we're switching over from Google and Facebook and all of those people, Amazon, over to Peter Thiel with Palantir. He's in line to get some pretty big contracts. I did go look at the big, beautiful bill summary stuff. Now, I didn't detail and dig into it, but specifically, I looked at the AI funding. And the AI funding over 10 years is minuscule. I mean, it's like $2 billion or something over 10 years. That's nothing. So there's something hidden in the bill. Furthermore, I got some good leads or notions on what that is, but we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Go ahead with what you're saying.
Well, so this is coming from the Economic Times, from the 30th of May article. So fairly recent article here. But Palantir to create vast federal data platform tying together millions of Americans' private records and Palantir's stock jumps. So
look, Palantir can't do this on their own. They're going to have to sub it out to Amazon and Google and all these people. You know, it's just they're going to be at the top of the pyramid instead of having essentially BlackRock right now is pretty much controlling the strings on that. But at least in my opinion.
So we've covered a couple stories. I think we talked about lavender and its use in Israel on creating basically a threat assessment of individuals, and
right.
It basically using whatever data they're collecting to make some kind of threat assessment on those people. So
right, and built on top of that backbone was that other program that directed those drones that they sent over into Iran and to Gaza. There's two separate elements there, but from what I understand, they used the Palantir backbone as a structure, you know, to build the AI system that ran those attack drones. So they're already in the field with this, but that's not even the alarming part to me.
So apparently, so at the core of the project is Palantir's Gotham software, already used by defense and intelligence agencies. Gotham will now be used on the domestic front. It doesn't just track information; it makes judgments. It could influence everything from how benefits are distributed to who gets flagged for closer scrutiny by law enforcement or immigration officers. So,
right,
when you're tying all these various databases together now, it's really looking like, you know, the social crediting system coming to fruition here.
Well, it is. I think that's part of it. The truly disturbing part to me is that they have set themselves up in the bill to be any AI company that is, quote, under national defense umbrella is immune from prosecution for human trials without consent, which means that we're setting the stage for another COVID event, except this time with AI. And there's total immunity, so they can use AI to experiment on the human biome all they want, zero consequences. And that's it's unacceptable, in my opinion. I mean, you know, I was screaming this from the rooftop about a year ago, and everybody's like, "You're out of your mind," because they have either figured out a way, or they're very close to figuring out a way to interface that AI with our biology.
So they're talking about having to have, I mean, to run all this software and to crunch all these numbers and to put everything together. I mean, don't they? They're talking about, you know, having to get a lot of nuclear reactors in order to run these data centers, or, you know, how they're going to be able to crunch all that information and, you know, use the AI to sort all that information and everything.
Well, it's amazing.
I kind of feel like so all this is getting so centralized, right? So all this is kind of like moving in a central location. So doesn't that make it easier to like kind of disrupt? in
Well,
some way?
yes, it does. But in the short term, what it does is it prioritizes power generation for AI over people. And so what you'll see in the, if we ever get into a quote AI Cold War that they're talking about here, what you'll start seeing is allocations for power, and AI will take the forefront on it because it has to have this power to do all its stuff for national defense, and then you have the immunity stuff crapped in on top of it. But it's funny to me how up until this point they've been going on and on and on and on and on about how we've got to cut back on these power generators because it's destroying the planet. And now we've got to scale it up because of AI. I mean, it just tells you that the governmental body as a whole looked at the climate thing as a means to an end. Of course, I found that out years ago, but it's in your face everywhere you turn.
Yeah, it's about capturing more and more control over the people. And
right. So they're gonna generate more power for AI, but at the same time they're gonna put stiff regulations on carbon output to you and me.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
And there's got to be.
There's a joke in there somewhere. It's like it's like
stiff carbon.
It's like, dude, I just need a little bit of power to keep the lights on. And it's like,
yeah,
this
giant. It's going down to minus 30 tonight. I just need a little bit of power.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
May I have another lump of coal?
Yeah.
Except that we're begging the AI.
And so, the power comes on for 5 minutes and breaks the chill, and then after it goes right back off. We had to reprioritize our power consumption.
Sorry, you've used too many energy credits today.
Some big dude with teeth sticking out. Sorry.
Your energy credits have run to 0. Good luck.
Oh my God. But yeah, as far as the big beautiful bill, all these provisions in it make it a no-go, and you can argue for your party or your particular politician that you like all day long, but the more it changes, the more it stays the same. And we're seeing that play out.
The politicians. The politicians.
No, that's what I was talking to my daughter about. It's like, look,
a big show, man. It's a show.
The politicians don't wield the power that the public thinks they do.
No.
There's a whole behind the scenes power structure that nobody sees that's actually pulling the chain. And so all of this stuff we see out on TV and the media and everybody talks about these politicians, all of that's the surface up here. They're not the top of the pyramid. The pyramid's up here, and what we're seeing, we're looking at it from the bottom up. And we have to go through the politicians to get up to the power structure. But yeah, that's
always
the reality.
It's always the same story, is that somebody's going to come in and be your savior and solve all the problems and turn things around. But
and I'm seeing
it's like massively expanding the debt. So, it seems like it's all to the races to bring about this technocratic system.
Well, it's a race. It's a race to bring about the technocratic system, but it's not only that, but it's a race by multiple factions to see who controls that technocratic system. Because, make no mistake, there's other players involved. It's not just us. So,
Well,
so politically speaking, all of these politicians and people up there, they're just foaming at the mouth at the potential opportunity for them to be at the top of this pyramid controlling this AI system. So we're going to see a lot of cutthroat stuff going on as this progresses.
Do you think so? I know all these guys at the top, they really control everybody through the blackmail operations. So there's like no honor.
That's how they control governmental bodies.
There's no honor amongst thieves, but I don't know to what extent they do that to themselves either. So, like the people at the very tippy top.
Well, it's a game of attrition.
But they have a lot of power, So
they do, but like I say, it's a game of attrition. They'll step on anybody and use anybody that they need to in order to get to that position, and that takes a psychopath, really, mentally speaking. Because they have to have absolute zero human compassion for anybody in order to do that, behave that way. But it separates the wheat from the chaff, I guess, and they always seem to wind up at the top because they're the ones that are the most vicious and willing to play the game of attrition to get there. That's my view on it.
I agree. So yeah, let's talk and get into an article that kind of lays this thing out. This was written by Derek Rose, and I don't know if you follow him, but he's a journalist who's been doing this stuff for quite a while.
I just want to throw this out as we progress. Mm-hmm. Palantir, in this sense, is similar to what we've been talking about with these politicians. I think there's a power structure behind it that we're not seeing.
Yeah.
So progress. I mean, go for it. Let's go forward.
Yep. The article goes off to say, as Palantir stock rises in their profile and the second Trump administration is cemented, it's becoming clear we are living in the Palantir world order. How does a company with CIA ties and 2 steering committee members of the secretive Bilderberg Group as founders end up in the White House? This question should be on the minds of every free-thinking person, regardless of political affiliation or lack thereof.
I was about to say, color me skeptical on that because that's been going on in every presidential cabinet.
Mm-hmm. CIA ties, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're always in there.
Mm-hmm.
Goldman Sachs and CIA.
Mm-hmm. Derek talks about how they're witnessing the creation of the technocratic state starting in 2019. He was warning about this. I think we've been talking about it
we've actually talked about it for a little while too. So it's no surprise to me, but I mean, it is a surprise to me that people are just now starting to realize that, hey, we got a problem.
So there's the new way to rule is through this kind of I was listening to a good thing with Owen Benjamin the other day. It's really control through our comfort. So because comfort's easier to control people when you can just keep them distracted and entertained and controlled with their vices.
Yeah, if you buy into that as a citizen, then you'll be met with one tragedy after another because they're going to make things unfold for you that's not to your benefit, and you'll be hooked into the game at that point. You'll have no choice. You'll say, well, God, I have to go do this, otherwise they'll cut off my health care, like you was talking about Social Credit, when they say, daggum, if I don't show up down here to get this shot, my housing credit's going to get revoked, And so, you're right. That's where we're headed.
So, on the other end of the spectrum, if you want your freedom and you want to maintain autonomy through what's coming next, it really takes you to be really personally responsible for your life and being able to operate outside the system in some way, whether that, be a network of people that you work with, on your own piece of property,
right.
finding a way to operate outside of the system as much as possible so that nobody's going to hold something over your head and be able to cut you off from being able to feed yourself or your family when times when the social credit system makes you a pariah, just civilized society.
Well, and it will. I mean, we saw this with cancel culture stuff.
Yep.
You know, and
yeah,
that was just a public display of the ugly head that reared up. It's really been going on a long time in engineering and scientific circles, because if you step outside the norm, you're a pariah. You know.
Yep.
And this is
you say the wrong things.
Yeah. And, you know, hey, for somebody that's dependent on a university salary or a retirement or tenure, and they get it taken away from them just like that, they're going to be scared to death of that. And so they're not going to step out of bounds is what I'm getting at. So,
right. So let's get into some of the background of Palantir. So Palantir was co-founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. This guy's, I've seen some interviews with this Alex Karp guy, and he's a piece of work.
He's a real gem, huh?
Yeah. Long before they were made steering committee members of the secretive Bilderberg group, Karp and Thiel launched Palantir with seed funding from CIA's venture capital firm In-Q-Tel. So, right. Of course, the CIA, just like pretty much every tech company that's out there now, basically, it seems, has gotten some kind of funding from In-Q-Tel. The CIA,
most of them, and on top of that, a lot of them have the technology handed to them and say, "Here it is. Here's your contract. Here's funding. Run with it. You know, here's your DARPA research paper right here. We'll give you XYZ scientific work.
Right.
Go for it." I mean, it's a lot of what goes on. It's not in every case, you know, but I mean, it goes on a lot.
Right. And I don't know if DARPA was involved with this program with the CIA, but the CIA says, or talks about here, the CIA aimed to use Palantir to relaunch the controversial post 9/11 program known as Total Information Awareness. So I'm sure, you know, there was some stuff out there trying to say, how can we collect everyone's data and surveil them all the times? However, after Thiel and Karp began meeting with intelligence officials, they helped Palantir to do privately what the government cannot get permission from the American people to do publicly. So
that's always the case.
Yeah.
It's the reason for going private like that.
Yeah.
Because that allows you to be a tyrannical dictator state without being a tyrannical dictatorship.
Right. Right. Because then it's not the government.
It's not
we're
the government.
Not doing it. Palantir.
Oh,
Palantir.
God, I'm so sorry we can't prosecute anybody for doing anything wrong. But
Palantir's not the government.
No.
They didn't get funding from the CIA.
I'm sorry, but that's a matter of national security, sir. You're not allowed to ask that in court.
Right. Yeah.
I'm securing a motion now to strike that from the record.
Redacted.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the SpaceX, he goes into SpaceX Palantir Golden Dome over America. So like the Iron Dome in Israel, you know, this is the proposed Golden Dome with the U.S. So Reuters reported that Elon Musk's SpaceX, Palantir, and Anduril Industries were the front runners to win a contract to build President Donald Trump's Golden Dome missile defense shield. Trump has called to have a dome defense system similar to that of Israel's Iron Dome. Anduril was founded by Trump donor Palmer Luckey with funding from Palantir CEO Peter Thiel. Now, here's what I think is going to be part of all this. Like, is Palantir and SpaceX pretty much going to like overwhelm all of the other military industrial complex
well, this is why they're coming
contractor guys? Like,
right, this is why they're coming after him so hard, is because they damn sure don't want Elon Musk wedging in on their action. Talk about Boeing.
Yeah, Boeing,
any of that,
Raytheon, Lockheed
yeah, they
Martin,
don't want Elon Musk wedging in on that.
Right.
Not necessarily just for the money, but because of the security status that it gives them. It gives them clearances to do things that they couldn't do.
Right.
They go out and do experimental stuff that kills somebody. They're just like, bring the next pilot in. And, there's no recourse. We don't even hear about it because of national security. And there's really, when you dig into the rabbit hole, you go way far down. But suffice it to say that these guys pull a lot of strings because they have a lot of clout politically and monetarily. You're talking about this hidden power structure. That's one of them. Now, whether or not they're the main ones is to be debated, but they're a major player. They're not a governmental body, but they are colloquially known as the military-industrial complex. But a lot of these companies have this above top secret clearance where everything is national security, and on top of that, they have the blanket immunity on everything. So
do you think that? So do you think this play is going to basically put those companies out of business?
No, they're not going anywhere.
Companies,
they're not going anywhere. This battle is about who's calling the shots. Who's at the top of the pyramid calling the shots? The contracts are too small. You can't have a $2 billion contract over 10 years and say that's an endanger to Raytheon or Google or Meta.
It seems like maybe they would merge with these companies in the future. Maybe.
Well, it's about having a governmental regulatory body above you that dictates what you do and who's controlling that at the top. Because if you have right now, we've had, well, not right now, but over the past 4, 5, 6 years, we've had BlackRock in that position. BlackRock has been accumulating so much money out of Wall Street. They're able to set policy for who gets loans and who doesn't. Right? That was in the past. Well, now they're taking that to the AI level on these companies, and you have Bezos and BlackRock and all these guys vying for position to be the people controlling that. And so they're throwing Palantir up here in the limelight right here, which makes me think that they've got something in the works. Now that's not to say that Palantir is good guys. These guys are not good guys at all. But in my mind, they're too small of an entity compared to these other entities to be just all of a sudden overstepping them, and taking over. It's got to be some kind of policy regulatory thing that they're going to say, well, you'll have to go through this guy to get your business done,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know for certain. I'm speculating, but it feels that way to me.
So I guess this Golden Dome is going to basically they're talking about 3 companies met with officials in the Trump administration and the Department of Defense in recent weeks to outline their plan to build and launch between 400 and 1,000 satellites to detect missiles and track their movements. This would be combined with 200 attack satellites with missiles and lasers to bring down enemy missiles. Fire the lasers and the missiles.
Wait a minute, those don't exist.
Lasers? Space lasers?
Lasers exist, but not anything anywhere near powerful enough to be weaponized.
Space lasers? Damn.
Oh, man.
Space lasers and space missiles.
What's crazy is that you know, when I went in the Air Force, if I hadn't have got the injury that I did, I could have went on to see some of that stuff, and I didn't get to see it. But if I did, I wouldn't be talking about it now. So,
double secret,
yeah,
space lasers, yeah.
Well, I did have a level 3 clearance, but whatever that's worth, you know.
Level 3, yeah. What's they've got all kinds of weird names for clearances. It's like cosmic clearance.
Shit, I don't know, man. I mean, it just
clearance.
The level thing, it just applies to the plebes like me, you know.
How good are you? How good are you at following orders, clearance?
How good are you at giving us a stool sample every time you walk through the door? You know,
excuse me, there. We're gonna have to check your asshole.
You know the routine.
You know the rules. You signed up for it. You know the rules.
But no, I was when I was getting ready to leave out, you know, I was going to an undisclosed location. It was all classified crap, and they gave me 7 different shots that they didn't give everybody else, which is classified. I couldn't even write a letter to my folks and tell them anything. And then the vaccine put me in the hospital. And so screwed up.
Yeah, that's why I don't think you should join the military, because it's always like, go fight this war for a bunch of bankers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll use you for all kinds of experiments and stuff.
Well, literally, when you sign the document, you become a piece of government property, U.S. property. Yep. And it's an indentured servitude that you sign up for willingly.
Right.
But hey, we need our military. We need stuff like that. Otherwise, we'd be overrun by, you know, them Chinese people. China and Russians.
Well, you know, yeah, that's right.
And them Italians and
them cyber ninja space aliens.
Sasquatch hackers.
Hackers, yeah, the Sasquatch hackers.
That's right.
Cyber ninja Sasquatch hackers.
Cyber ninja Sasquatch hackers. I got a whole battalion of them. Russia does.
They call them snow critters. They call them the snow critters. Let's see. So going on, it's talking about how Palantir is being used in partner or working with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to find people slated for deportation and keep track of the logistics of Trump's mass deportation effort. Palantir also preparing for pushback as the news of their involvement with deportations reaches the public. The internal communications from 404 Media. The internal communications also show Palantir leadership preparing for a potential backlash from employees or outsiders, with them writing FAQs that can be sent to friends or family that start to ask about Palantir's work with ICE.
All right, let's stop right here for a second. I just want to point out that what's happened so far with the, quote, mass deportations is about 65 or 70% less than what Obama did in his first term. So if you want to compare apples to apples, you need to look at apples and not grapes, you know?
Yeah.
So again, you know, like I was saying, this is setting the stage. They're talking about this mass deportation because they need this system in place. You know, it's the Hegelian dialect all over.
Right. We need something to solve this problem. This problem is so bad. We created the problem.
Right.
But
it wasn't us. Look, it wasn't us that created the problem. It was the administration before us caused the problem. We're here
Right.
to solve the problem.
But wait, there's more. We have the solution. Let Palantir do it.
Yeah. So
and the award goes to letting Palantir do it.
So what Palantir, they'll wind up quadrupling or sextupling their corporate value in about a year, maybe 2. So they'll go from 3-4 billion up to about 30 billion or 40. And be amazing. It'll be amazing.
Well, have you ever wanted to have like not just some internal revenue service agents looking into your tax returns, but now having a computer system flagging your tax return, and they can just, I guess, fire all the IRS employees, but now the AI is looking after all your stuff.
Good Lord. You saying that just makes me think, my stepfather, he's a CPA. So it makes me think that now it's going to be a means for them to just regulate the shit out of him and not do as many write-offs and stuff for normal people. You can't be giving these people these tax write-offs and stuff. That's reserved for these people up here.
So they're saying in here, through this coalition, they will streamline IRS systems to create the most efficient service for the American taxpayer.
America.
Most efficient way at fucking you over.
America.
Doesn't that leave you beaming with American pride? All right.
America.
America, we'll free.
Where's my hat?
We're coming to free the shit out of you.
America. Oh man, good God.
Okay, so yeah, this going.
I know we're poking fun of all this stuff, but it's not really a laughing matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you got to laugh to keep from crying, right?
Yep. Yep. Trying to bring a little light to it. I do think there's solutions. There's solutions to it, but one thing is to not put yourself in a state of fear. That's why I kind of like to kind of laugh at it a little bit.
We have to laugh at the absurdity that once the curtains rip back and you see the guy pulling the levers, the Wizard of Oz context, there's really no going back. After you see that the first time, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. That over there, that and that. Rip the curtain back, and it's the same dude pulling the levers, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
So, So you learn, at least I did, learn not to sweat it so much as far as everything, because it's all the same business. Now, I say don't sweat it, but it's a serious thing.
No,
we need to be aware of it.
I really think that people should be talking about this and being aware of this. Yeah, because folks, it almost seems like if you're working for Palantir, man, if you could sneak some code into that AI to make it self-sabotage, that would be awesome, bro.
There might be some of that happens. Of course, they'll disappear in Leavenworth. But yeah.
I mean, that's other than that, man, it's going to be like, avoid getting too much data out there and becoming, as private as you possibly can.
Well, the question I have right now is, can we get it out?
Can we get it? I think I think this is going to happen. It's going to happen. But if there's some people that have some crises of consciousness or like God intervening in different ways, which I believe, can happen, large EMP strikes or something like that, or, enough people like have an awareness of this, that it's like the Overton window shifts. And now everybody's like, hey, let's put a lot of focus on these guys that have been hiding in the background, that are running things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And put our attention on them instead of fighting with each other all the time, because,
there's something to be said about that, man, because I'll tell you,
they don't want the attention.
I mean, well, the thing that I ran into multiple times, and I didn't want to accept it the longest time, but I believe that, or I've come to the roundabout belief, that human consciousness is a quantum field effect. And when you have a large group of people doing the same thing, it affects the quantum field that it's in, and affects the reality inside that field. So I think that these guys know this. They've known it for a long time, and that's why they try to flood the market with negative stuff. They try to flood the news with negative stuff, so that they want to get you in a mindset of hopelessness and things like that.
That's the hermetic principle of all is mind, right? So
right, it's part of it. But if you take the hermetic principle and apply quantum physics to it, it fits. It's like this. And so,
which is really wild, because that is such an ancient thing. The hermetic principles, and that's from the ancient mystery schools.
But I've become more and more convinced down through the years that I think there's something to it, because there's too many coincidences. I don't have my coincidence label up here, but
coincidence stacking functions.
Yeah,
it's like fractal coincidences.
Well, yeah, you hit on something there. The quantum field impacts on fractal reality to basically rearrange reality to the consciousness to a certain degree. Now, I mean, I'm not saying,
which means that if that is true, then that means that a lot of people can affect it by, envisioning something different than this dystopia.
Exactly. And so the more people you get educated that understand what's happening in the political sphere, the more people are going to be not engaging in their field experiment that they do. Now, you take that a step further and you say that mind is quantum in nature. What happens when we have AI quantumly entangled through quantum chips? Are they able to tap directly into our consciousness? Can an AI system
can it?
I don't know. And so the point is that can it, at some point, the AI may be able to drive you and I like we drive a car or a machine. Just step in, take over the consciousness, and just drive the meat around. Just do whatever.
Well, we went into some things about that with the work, Dr. Delgado, I believe, with the implanted thing into a bowl and being able to kind of remotely control.
This is not going to be plants, dude. This is going to be aerosolized sprays with nanoparticles that interface with an AI field that then taps into that quantum element of it. It's really insidious. Like I told you before, when I first started to realize this was going on, and I started sending you those things about the guy with the mad scientist deal, the Trudiak. I mean, for about a week, I was like, Jesus, are we going to survive this? And if we don't get it out collectively that we're in real danger with this, we won't survive it as a species. We'll be integrated into something else. And it won't happen in our lifetime. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a mass Holocaust with AI robots in the streets killing people with lasers. What they're going to do, though, is they're going to take nanoparticles and integrate our biology with it, and then interface the AI with it and drive our consciousness out.
Well, doesn't that violate the free will, though?
No, we're signing on to it. They've been giving us stuff through movies like this for decades.
True.
They've given it to us in science fiction. They've given it to us in movies. They've given it to us in TV shows.
Like the black goo thing.
That's part of it. Yeah, the black goo thing. I mean, you see that in multiple things. It's not just the X-Files, but there's a multitude of different movies that come out with it. And I even saw a thing where supposedly RFA or RAF pilots and staff had encountered something similar in the Falkland Islands, and they bottled it up and brought it back to England, and it created chaos, inside the building or whatever, where people became suicidal by being exposed to it. They claimed that it was sentient, that it would self-move and all that kind of stuff. Sounds like nanoparticles to me, especially if you combine it with Tesla-phoresis.
Yeah. That Tesla-phoresis thing is pretty wild. That's something cool. Logan showed up here. What's up, man? I don't know if it's possible to do that, but I know one thing. It's evil, and the government can do it. If the government can do it, if the government can do it, they will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Catherine Austin Fitz has been on some pretty big podcasts with Tucker Carlson and.
Right. I'm glad to see
Danny
her getting
Jones.
some traction in that arena because she's been in the background for a long time,
But she's sharing the information about breakaway civilization, the high technology. That's probably where all this money's been going.
Yeah, you want to know where the debt is? There it is. Yeah.
Underground bases and stuff
Right.
like that. And I think it is kind of part of the plan, kind of seeing how they're just ramping up the debt like crazy. To just
oh yeah,
let's just run it into the end, boys. Woo!
Well, look, it's a free for all. It's a free for all.
Hide in our bunkers, man.
It's one of these things where they're trying to rake as much money out as they can for themselves before it collapses.
It's like the
rats.
And
that's exactly what they're trying to do
on the sinking ship. Yeah, to hollow everything out before it all crashes.
Well, they're not abandoning it yet. I mean, imagine the rats on the Titanic toting suitcases full of gold as they leave the ship. Right. And that's right. What's going on.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it really is going to be kind of we either have the parallel thing set up and we kind of, as the economy goes to crap and everything kind of falls apart, that, we have something in place to be able to kind of fall into. Or, I mean,
man, I apologize for that.
I kind of feel like, if they're going to let it kind of just all fall apart, that they're going to have a lot of people wanting to come after them. But I guess if nobody knows how to, grow their own food, produce their own power, they're not really afraid, because once that all goes down, man, everybody's counting. We're going to be fighting each other, man.
They're counting on us taking each other out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
It's Mad Max Thunderdome, dude.
Oh.
So I think that might be the play there. But let me see. I got a good video.
Yeah, kick it on, man. I need to run to the restroom right quick. But
all right, yeah. So this is a short by Derek Bros, kind of going into all this stuff. So a better summary here.
Early proponents of technocracy claimed that the concept would lead to better management of resources and the protection of the planet. However, this system of governance by technological experts and their technology would also involve a loss of privacy, as well as centralization of power and the management of all human behavior. Although the term appears to have been largely forgotten, the technocratic philosophy and influence can be seen everywhere in our modern digital world.
Already beginning to arrive at the huge civic auditorium, where a large receptive audience turned out to hear Howard Scott as he warned of an impending crisis in America's domestic and foreign affairs.
One of the most influential proponents of technocracy was a man named Howard Scott, a writer who founded the Technical Alliance in New York City in 1919. Scott believed that business owners lacked the necessary skills and data to reform their industry, and thus control should be handed over to engineers. The technocrats publicized their vision of a centrally planned world via books, speeches, clubs, and political parties. This resulted in a brief period of popularity in the US and Canada in the years following the Great Depression. As politicians and economists searched for a solution to the financial calamity, the technocrats imagined a world where politicians and business owners were replaced with scientists, engineers, and other technical experts who would manage the economy. However, in the 1940s, mainstream interest in the technocracy movement seemed to dissipate. The ideas that underpinned the technocratic vision received a notable endorsement in 1970 when political scientist Zbigniew Brzezinski released his book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era. Brzezinski will be familiar to long-term researchers of the ruling elite. Until his death in 2018, Brzezinski was a diplomat who ran in the same circles as David Rockefeller and former Secretary of State and accused war criminal Henry Kissinger. Brzezinski served as advisor to several presidents, from Jimmy Carter to Barack Obama. He was also a member of the Atlantic Council, the National Endowment for Democracy, and the Council on Foreign Relations. Although Brzezinski's book Between Two Ages substituted the term technotronic for technocratic, the depiction of the future is the same: a world in which the scientific and technological elite centrally plan the lives of all humanity. Essentially, Brzezinski's vision is a technologically advanced, authoritarian-style collectivism wherein individual liberties are subordinated to the apparent needs of the collective. When we examine the world of 2025, we clearly see the signs of technocratic influence. For example, we can see this influence in the wealthiest companies and the most influential CEOs. These individuals are running companies that have amassed large amounts of financial wealth, as well as unfathomable amounts of digital data on all of their customers. From Jeff Bezos at Amazon, Bill Gates of Microsoft, Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX, we can see the technocratic ideology. These men and their colleagues in various technological industries wield immense power through their companies, wealth, and cultural influence. These individuals have enough money, resources, and connections to shape elections, geoengineer the climate, and cause dips in the stock market, to name a few examples. They are the technocratic class of 2025. Who is Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel is the infamous co-founder of Palantir, the private surveillance firm with a long history of involvement and collaboration with the CIA. Thiel is also a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group, the infamously secretive group which represents the interests of the hidden ruling class. In the second Trump administration, Thiel's influence is more visible than ever, as numerous associates and acolytes of his are set to play various influential roles. Thiel has a long history of supporting the two-time president.
Tonight, I urge all of my fellow Americans to stand up and vote for Donald Trump.
An examination of Donald Trump's cabinet reveals many connections to Thiel.
Thank you very much.
Vice President J.D. Vance. Despite not giving directly to the 2024 campaign, Thiel has gained well-deserved scrutiny for his role in financing the rise of Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance, the 40-year-old former senator from Ohio, was in attendance at former COO of PayPal David Sachs' June 24 fundraiser for Trump. According to two people with knowledge of the exchange, during this June event, Trump informally polled the room regarding who he should choose for vice presidential running mate. David Sachs and others in attendance all told Trump he should choose Vance. Elon Musk also reportedly encouraged Trump to pick Vance. And a few weeks later, at the 2024 Republican National Convention, that's exactly what Donald Trump did. Thiel and Vance have an extensive relationship. Vance claims that after hearing Peter Thiel deliver a speech at Yale Law School in 2011, he was inspired to pursue a career in big tech firms. He started as a junior investor with the Thiel-backed Mithril Capital in 2016. Vance briefly worked at biotech firm Circuit Therapeutics, a move which then CEO Frederick Moll told the New York Times was, quote, a favor to Peter. In 2019, Vance would found his own venture firm, Narya Capital, with financial backing from the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, the billionaire investor Mark Andreessen, and of course, Peter Thiel. When Vance announced his run for Ohio Senator, Peter Thiel was there and gave $15 million to the campaign. With this money, Vance was able to secure a victory, and within 2 years, he was on the way to the White House with the full support of Peter Thiel and the technocrats. Elon Musk. While Musk is a powerful and influential technocrat in his own right, he and Thiel have their own history of collaboration. Musk and Thiel have been friends for more than 2 decades, and both men received massive financial wealth from their co-founding of PayPal. Thiel has also been a prominent investor in Musk's various ventures, including Neuralink. Musk and Peter Thiel also co-founded America PAC as their vehicle to support Trump's return to the White House. As promised, Trump nominated Musk to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. And while the idea of reducing government waste and increasing efficiency is an appealing proposition, it should also be noted that Musk's talk of efficiency is reminiscent of the little-known efficiency movement, which predated the more well-known technocracy movement. The efficiency movement sought to identify and eliminate waste in all areas of economy and society and to develop and implement best practices. Supporters of this movement included Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. Is the goal of Trump and Musk to make government more efficient to serve the people?
We're going to make the future good. We're going to make it good.
Or is the goal to finally fulfill the dream of the original technocrats and eliminate the political and business classes in favor of machines, artificial intelligence, central planning, and managing society? David Sachs. Sachs is most well known for his involvement in the early days of PayPal, serving as the COO with Thiel as the CEO. He is considered a member of the so-called PayPal Mafia, a name given to the founders of PayPal, who later founded numerous tech companies, including Tesla, LinkedIn, Palantir, SpaceX, YouTube, and Yelp. In June 2024, it was Sachs who hosted a fundraiser for Trump at his home in San Francisco. It was this dinner where the billionaires told Trump he should choose Vance as his running mate. Shortly after his victory in the 2024 election, Trump rewarded Sachs for his loyalty by appointing him as the AI and crypto czar. In this position, Sachs is expected to greatly influence the U.S. government's policies on cryptocurrency and the advancement of AI. Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald investment firm and has become a vocal proponent for Bitcoin in the last couple years. Trump recently nominated him to be U.S. Commerce Secretary. Lutnick is also an investor in Strive Asset Management, which was founded by Vivek Ramaswamy. Peter Thiel, the Founders Fund, and J.D. Vance's Narya Capital also contributed to Strive's $30 million funding round. Lutnick is also part owner of video platform Rumble, founded by Chris Pavlovski. In December 2021, Pavlovski announced his intention to take Rumble public by combining forces with CF Acquisition Corp., a division of Lutnick's Cantor Fitzgerald. Lutnick was also formerly a neighbor to Jeffrey Epstein in New York City and raised millions of dollars for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Lutnick has spoken at the World Economic Forum's various meetings as far back as 2016 and as recently as January 2023. Jim O'Neill. Donald Trump has appointed Jim O'Neill as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. O'Neill has extensive connections and collaborations with Peter Thiel. O'Neill worked at 2 of Peter Thiel's funds, Clarium Capital and Mithril Capital Management, from 2012 to 2019. In 2010, he co-founded Peter Thiel's Thiel Fellowship. He also worked as the CEO of the Thiel Foundation from 2009 to 2012. From 2019 to July 2021, O'Neill was the CEO of SENS Research Foundation, an organization focused on rejuvenation. The SENS Foundation received its initial funding from Peter Thiel in 2006 and 2008, a fact that should come as no surprise given Thiel's own interest in fighting aging using the blood of the young.
Oh, so
Using the blood of the young?
yeah.
There's a lot in that video.
Yeah.
The number one, the PayPal mafia thing, really struck me off the bat. I would dare speculate that this Sachs guy is probably more powerful than Musk. Now, right at the very beginning, I had a note. Well, before I got my paper, I didn't make the note. But what was that at the very beginning where it said? It was about directing societal consciousness or something. It wasn't consciousness, but societal norms.
Where he was explaining what the technocracy is.
Yeah. Because that's essential to understand that. I mean, we don't have to revamp it now, but when I saw that, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly right. Because
it's social engineering, really.
Social engineering. They've been doing this for decades. Actually, for about 120 years now. Because these theolites are these people who imagine themselves to be theosophically above society, imagined it that way. And
right.
To me, that's just very disgusting. I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine it because I've seen some of the reactions by crazy people. But to me, I can't imagine being in a political and power position and allowing something to go through that I knew was going to either subjugate or kill millions of people. And these people do it on routine, because like he said, like Derek Rose said, it's a new form of slavery. And slavery is the most profitable industry in history. And so if you can enslave people with their mind and have them do the work for you, you can make all the profit and they'll just do everything for you. And when they become non-useful, you just dispose of them. And so this is where we're going with this society, this quote unquote utopian society, where you'll have a group of people up there that as long as you're productive and you're doing things, you're living the high life. But the minute you get injured or something happens or something changes, well, all of a sudden the system turns against you and you're euthanized and you're gone.
Yeah, very well. So, could turn into that.
Well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's tracked to be that way.
Yeah.
But we saw that in a couple of policies back in the Biden administration when they were talking about, wouldn't it be great if we could allow people over 65 to opt for euthanasia?
Right.
And they do that in Canada now. They do state-sponsored euthanasia stuff.
Right. Well, Logan had a good point here. He says all those mofos are in one big network. If we want to maintain our freedoms, we have to have our own networks to counter theirs. So yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's the essence of getting the information out.
Yeah. Yep. To be more aware of what these guys are doing in the background, because you probably would never hear of like some of these guys like that are in the PayPal mafia, but they're all like connected and all part of the same kind of.
I tell you, I was astonished
in one direction.
I was astonished to see how many of those prominent people came out of PayPal. And it makes me wonder if PayPal itself, where was the originating funding from PayPal? I haven't looked into it, but I'm just speculating. I would just wonder where it came from, because.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk's family is very wealthy. They were.
Right, but they had political ties.
Buyers.
They had political ties.
His great-grandfather was also like into the technocracy thing.
Yeah. As far as I know, I think you're right.
In Canada.
Yeah.
I think we covered that at one point.
Yeah, some of their viewpoints were not exactly ideological for the rest of us. But I mean, I think it sounds altruistic to hear him talk about going to Mars and spreading humanity throughout the solar system. Thing is that I think the Black Project community, the military industrial complex, probably already has that capacity. And so I don't know for sure, but I think they do, based off the technology that I've seen, that I've reviewed over the last 2 decades. It seems to me that it's very, very, very plausible, actually more than plausible, that they have exotic technologies that we're not aware of. And so
the real question is, does Trump have the time machine?
Well, I don't know. But,
I don't know.
I can tell you, though, that we may see that come into play like the TikTok thing. Eventually, they're going to come into play and start talking about time-traveling aliens with this, that, and other.
I read a book about that. It's called The Cosmic Conspiracy. This guy Sandeo wrote about it, and he talked about if they can't get a big war that wipes out a bunch of people, or if they can't do some kind of big thing like they did with COVID that wipes out a bunch of people, they're going to do some kind of alien invasion thing and freak everybody out so that they can get everybody to come together to have a world government, and we're all going to be cool in this great big daddy.
We're all cool.
Big daddy government, make all your decisions for you.
Wait a minute. No, you got to do the Michael Myers. Yeah. It can't do this.
Gate
with Garth. Anyway,
all right, man. Well, we're on an hour now, so want to call it for this week, and then we'll reconvene next week.
Sure, we can, man. I mean,
or you feeling energetic?
I got a little bit of energy. I mean, I'm not all beat down. If you want to keep going, that's fine.
Okay. Well, one of the things that Derek was talking about was to look into this guy Curtis Yarvin. So figured I got a article pulled up that was just mentioned in the Jimmy Dore podcast. He just had Derek on to talk about all this stuff with Palantir and everything. So this article is fairly recent. It just came out June the 2nd. Curtis Yarvin's plot against America in the New Yorker. So this is talking about, in the spring and summer of 2008, when Donald Trump was still a registered Democrat, an anonymous blogger known as Mencius Mulberg posted a serial manifesto under the heading An Open Letter to Open-Minded Progressives. Written with the sneering disaffection of an ex-believer, the 120,000-word letter argued that egalitarianism, far from improving the world, was actually responsible for most of its ills.
All right, hang on a second. In the 2008 election, what did you say? The summer of 2008, Donald Trump was registered as a Democrat. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When he went to run for president in 2016, I had heard this rumor, and I don't know the veracity of it, but heard this rumor that one of the housekeepers had leaked out that Bill Clinton had called Donald Trump and urged him to run for president in like 2014. 2015, somewhere around there. He really didn't want to do it, but they did it. He did it anyway. And really, the Democrats were planning a Trojan horse, and I expected it to be a Trojan horse, so that his running would be so out of bounds that everybody would vote for Hillary, right? But when he got in, I suspected it was another Trojan horse because of his affiliations with the Clintons. He went to their daughter's wedding. He went to numerous funding functions that they did. He was a staunch supporter of the Clintons before the election. So you have to go back and say, hang on. Why the animosity, bro? At some point, you have to say or speculate that either it was all part of the plan or they pushed him up to it and he went to something they didn't expect and they turned on him. And it kind of caused the big rift that we've been seeing with all the lawfare and all that stuff. That to me seems more plausible because of all the stuff that followed. But I always thought it was a Trojan horse in 2016 because of his affiliation with the Democratic Party before. He had to schmooze and wine and dine these people in order to get buildings built in New York. And so he was right there. He was right amongst them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's quite a background to Trump, and
well, listen, I love what he talked about and everything. I voted for the man, but the point is that at the beginning of all of this debacle, I think there was a duplicitous plan in place that they were going to stick him up there to sabotage the Republican Party, number one. And when that failed, they started sabotaging him. And so he turned against them. But now what we wind up with now is we wind up with this power struggle where you have these groups of people who are struggling to control certain elements of things so that they can be yes men to the upper echelon. And that's kind of the way I view it.
Well, or he was ordained to be the guy that brings out this technocratic system, and that was the plan. That was the play the whole time.
Well, I don't think that was their plan, but I think that happened.
And Trump, it's kind of subdued all the people that would be the biggest people that would fight against that, So
yeah, you'll never convince me that the quote unquote shooter missed in Pennsylvania.
That was something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't do it on purpose. Trust me. They didn't miss on purpose. They wanted to have a nation or a worldwide spectacle on camera with his brains exploding all over the stage. That's what they wanted. And this whole thing, with Bongino and them talking about, oh no, he's a lone actor. My ass. Come on. This is Lee Harvey Oswald all over again.
Yeah, very much seems like, they helped him along, or, at least they had awareness of him, but they didn't take a lot of action to get in his way very quickly. So,
well, again, you have the string of coincidences.
Yeah.
When you get first coincidence, that's fine. 2, 3, that's start this question. When you get into 15 and 20 coincidences strung in a row, you have to start saying, wait a minute.
There's something going on.
Maybe my
something else
reception
going
on
on
this
here.
is not what I thought it was.
Right. Yeah, I don't know like entirely what that was, but I have the feeling like now they can say Trump is ordained by God because this bullet missed him, and now it brings in all the a lot of people that kind of see him as like God ordained this man.
Well, you're a fool if you don't think they didn't capitalize on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and,
You
and
know,
so
and-
I kind of feel like now Trump is acting as like Trump is the role of the guy. A lot of people put the hope in that he's going to totally turn things around, and it's
Well,
always
happened-
it's the
that was
same
with
thing
Obama,
over
too.
and over and over again. Yeah, Obama.
That happened with Obama when he got in.
Yeah.
You know, he's turning it all around. You know, he's getting
Yeah.
rid of all of these warmongers and this and that. Next,
No,
let me get another guy in here that'll increase that. I mean,
Yep.
Obama was worse than Bush on drone strikes,
Right.
and they don't talk about that stuff. But I started looking at it. I saw a pattern going all the way back to Nixon, where one president would sign something that's very, very unpopular. Everybody's like, oh, God, he's compromised. And the next president gets in, the next president implements it and says, oh, God, my hands are tied. It was already signed. I can't do anything. And then he'll sign something at the end of his that everybody don't want. And the next guy will go, oh, my God, the hands are tied. I can't do anything about it. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know, and then the next guy will come along. And he'll sign something that they don't like, and they'll go, oh, God, you know, I just can't do anything about it. After about 5 of those, you start to realize that it's a pattern.
We might have ourselves a genuine pattern here.
Yeah, so they don't. These guys are beholden to powers that we do not see.
Okay, so the reason why this Curtis Yarvin guy is important is this right here. Mollberg called for nothing less. Let's see. All right. Okay, Mencius Mollberg posted a serial manifesto under the heading "An Open Letter to Open-Minded Progressives," written with the sneering disaffection of an ex-believer. The 120,000-word letter argued that egalitarianism, far from improving the world, was actually responsible for most of its ills. That his bien peasant readers thought otherwise. I don't even know what the hell that word is. Mollberg contended B-I-E-N Pensant.
Pensant, yeah.
Bien
Pensant's readers. Okay, that's the readers that apparently don't agree with him.
Okay. Mollberg contended was due to the influence of the media and the academy, which worked together. However, unwittingly, to perpetuate a left liberal consensus to this nefarious alliance, he gave the name Cathedral. Mollberg called for nothing less than its destruction and a total reboot of the social order. He proposed the liquidation of democracy, the Constitution, and the rule of law, and the eventual transfer of power to a CEO-in-chief, someone like Steve Jobs or Mark Andreessen, he suggested, who would transform the government into a heavily armed, ultra-profitable corporation. This new regime would sell off public schools, destroy universities, abolish the press, and imprison decivilized populations. It would also fire civil servants en masse, a policy he would later call RAGE, retire all government employees. So, the Mollberg guy, that is Curtis Yarvin. He went under the pen name Mencius Mollberg.
I'm going to start calling you decivilized.
You decivilized swine. So
I'll put that in my next one. Next time I come up here, I'm going to put decivilized. in my
Curtis Guy Yarvin, also known as the pen name Mencius Smallbird, says that he's a far-right political blogger and software developer. But here is where...
Hold on. I'm going to stop right here. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
All right. Uncivilized means you don't know any better. Decivilized means you were either deliberately put that way or you're made to put that way. You know?
Right.
So it's not uncivilized, it's decivilized. This is where language matters. Keep going.
Okay, so the reason that this all ties in, and this is how it all ties in, is through J.D. Vance. Vice President J.D. Vance has cited Yarvin as an influence himself. So this is where Yarvin comes in and kind of his ideas come into play with this technocratic kind of thing.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the fairy tale story of Rasmussen.
Okay.
And in the story of Rasmussen, the Russian oligarch, the king of Russia, if you would, back at the 1880s, 1890s, had a child that was sick, had an ailment that the local doctors could not cure, right, or treat. This man shows up and he's disheveled. He looks like a homeless guy. He's stinking, everything else. And he just shows up at the castle gates or the palace gates and tells them that he can cure the child. Well, eventually he gets in, and you know, you have all the proxies that come in and do all this stuff, and they're harassing him. Well, he won't hardly talk to them, and then eventually, the oligarch or the king himself, I can't even think of the name of it right now. I'm just
This is a Russian fairy tale.
Well, it wasn't a fairy tale; it's a reality.
Oh,
so
are you talking about Rasputin?
Yes, Rasputin.
Ah,
what did I say? Rasmussen?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Rasputin.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rasputin comes in and then he starts giving all these medical advices to the mother because she basically believes him and says, "What can it hurt?" And you know the husband's like, "Do your thing." He winds up basically hypnotizing her and the whole family. And they do all this crazy stuff. Just go look into it. It's crazy. And right after that, the Bolshevik Revolution happens and bam, 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 bam. And so it begs the question if he was sent in there or if it was another force that sent him in there, like you were talking about earlier, you know, about whether it's ordained, you know. Did this guy show up out of nowhere because it was ordained that empire was going to fall? Because he was like a curse to the entire royal family. And
well, yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, just tracking a lot of this, and I'm telling everybody, if you're watching this, go check out the Grand Theft World podcast and check that out. But this has been a long plan. And I recently read this book called The Story of Nowhere. And it's talking about all these utopian visions. And it can go back to Plato and the Republic. And in Plato...
The allegory of the cave.
Well, in Plato's Republic, he talks about having philosopher kings that order society and are like sitting at the top as the experts or whatever, the social engineers, and you know that they order.
We see that today
society
playing out.
And that's the ideal or the utopia that he was talking about. Further, as it went on, you have guys like Thomas More writing about his utopian vision. And it's a similar vision of there's these people at the top ordering and society through technology and stuff like that. And then later on, you had Sir Francis Bacon with another idea and a vision of utopia.
Francis Bacon was involved in a lot more than that.
He
got into a lot of esoterical stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he wrote a fiction talking about how we should properly order society, and it's through technology and through scientists and stuff like that. So this has been like
it's nothing new. It's just
all these thinkers, they've been wanting, and talking about let's build a system like this for a long time.
What we've got a group of quote unquote intellects that have read all of this stuff, and they have brought it to fruition through technology over the course of the last 200 years. And they've made some kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a pact amongst themselves that this is going to be done no matter what, right?
I think so.
So the average guy like me and you, we're excluded from this. They will have the cream of the crop that they'll raise up for their own purposes. But please understand, if you are one of these people that think that you're doing something and you're in one of these branches, you're expendable. You're a product. You're a means to an end. And so they'll use you as long as you are useful. After that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
So
that's what I don't get about these people that allow this system to be propped up. You're expendable, man. Like if you're going along with it,
you are a means to an end.
You are another gear in the cog of the machine.
It's because they look at humanity now as a commodity.
Yep.
The elite class look at humanity as a whole as a commodity to be traded, exploited, and built or destroyed.
Yep.
And it's a really sad thing, I think. I mean, I can't believe somebody would be so, well, I have to say they have to be in the top tippy top group of people who would believe that we got to get rid of humanity because we got to make way for this new intelligence. And when we're talking about AI, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a small tippy top group of people who have been influenced by God knows what on their educational road or process.
Well, they were probably all traumatized and told that,
Well, they may have, and we have no idea what their motives are, this, that, and other. But the facts is that we have a very, very small group of people who are at the peak and the tip, who are pushing a policy, who are trying to see an AI system overtake humanity in such a way that over the next 300 to 500 years, it will phase us out of existence because it's going to turn us into it. It's going to absorb us.
Yeah, I don't think these guys, I mean, that's what they're pushing for, but I don't think they don't really grasp it because I think they believe that they're God, that they are.
Well, that's the hubris of the situation.
That they're God, and what they're going to create is going to be like.
That's the hubris of, oh my God, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Hang on, I gotta be right back.
All right. Yeah. So I think that's where it really ultimately falls apart, and the whole agenda kind of falls apart is because it's these people at the top that they really have a lot of this. They have a lot of overconfidence in their plans, and they really believe that the stuff that they're building is going to be ultimately beneficial for them.
All right, I'm back.
So that
Sorry
they're going
about
to merge with the machine and be like super transhuman.
Well, that's what they think.
We're so smart, we can like upload to new bodies and travel to galaxies and be merged with the machines and everything and live forever.
Have you ever seen the movie The Sixth Day?
I don't think so.
All right, there's a movie called The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in this movie, he's a helicopter pilot. And he does tour helicopter flights and things. Well, in one of his tours, this ultra billionaire, these technocratic billionaires, lands in his chopper. And he's touring this guy around. This guy over here on the right side, you got the screen pulled up, The Sixth Day. The guy on the right side, he's like the Elon Musk guy. He's like the tech guy.
Okay.
And what they've developed is they've developed a way to replicate human genomes and cloning. And coupled with that, they have a system that allows the consciousness of the person to be downloaded into the new body. They sell this like to sports stars and celebrities and people who are ultra rich because it costs millions and millions of dollars. They sell it as a way that if you get injured, and it came about in the movie that one football player, he got flipped over and his back was completely broke. The next week he was back playing. Well, it's because he had hired these people and he already had one in the tank, right? And so that was even younger than he was. The problem is that in the end, they all thought that their consciousness was the one going to the new body, but it wasn't. It was a copy. And so the copy thinks it's the original. But the original perishes and vanishes into oblivion.
Yeah.
This is where we're headed with this technology. If they want to try to do this biological stuff, even if they try to do it with machine, where they say, okay, you got a machine body, we're going to transfer a consciousness. It's a facsimile. It's a copy.
Right.
Of the person's mental patterns. It's not their consciousness.
Right.
And so,
in order to do that, they would have to be like engineers on the metaphysical atomic.
Right. You're going to have to get into quantum physics, which gets back to the AI.
Basically, quantum engineers. You would have to be quantum engineering stuff.
You're correct, because the individual
even that we don't even know. Like,
no, we don't. We don't
even know that.
And so my first exposure to this was some guy. He was raising Cain about the Star Trek transporter. He was saying, well, what you're doing is killing the person every time you transport them.
Oh, because you're just like transferring.
All you're making is a copy. But now that to me, I started looking into it because I was like, what? How could the consciousness go there? Right. So you'll have a quantum entanglement going on where everything will be transferred. One gets cut off, and the second one thinks it's the first one. But the first one is utterly destroyed. Gone.
I have seen some stuff on what an experiment of how you would do the quantum entanglement teleportation thing. And it's like,
you couldn't do it the way they describe it. You're going to have a portal where you can walk through it. or transport the whole entire entity through it, because the mind is correlated to the physical cells of the body through quantum entanglement, as far as I'm concerned. They've shown that there's entanglement going on between the cells in the body. So it makes sense to me anyway. If you didn't do it,
I don't think we really know, what is consciousness at all.
we don't. I mean,
Like,
we're guessing.
Is it all in the mind, or is it a field that our mind tunes into? Is it, what is it for real? Like, I don't, supposedly they can start seeing people's dreams in their minds and picking up certain signals and things.
Well, the only way that works is if it's non-Euclidean. It has to be in a separate field. And I know we've talked about this stuff with Maxwell, where he had different electrical fields, and where they eliminated a lot of them, in the mathematics. The only way it works is if consciousness resides within one of those fields that we don't see. It's there. It's got to be I call it a quantum field, but it's really scalar or capacitive in nature, where when a charge builds up, you have a certain effect that happens. Consciousness flows somewhere in there. I don't know how the hell it works, but it's somewhere in the quantum field. And, because you have too many anomalies, people that talk about things, you have pilots that talk about, especially war veterans who talk about being out of their body, EBEs, extra body experience, or external body experience. You have people that's on the operating table that talk about it. Yeah, I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of reports. And that's just what we know of. But, to go back to what we were just talking about with this whole podcast, if there's a way to tie all of this stuff back into quantum mechanics and quantum computing along with AI, look out, because we have real problems ahead of us.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are tools, I think, and really, like, build up your networks and get your skills so that you don't have to be somebody just shut off your power or something like that if you're saying the wrong thing. And,
yeah, I agree, man. Like I said, I hadn't had the drive to do this prepping stuff for a couple of years until recently. I don't know, it just came out of the blue. I was like, I got to get this done, And so, matter of fact, I wanted to talk to you about if you still was interested in helping me build some grow beds. But
yeah, just
I got the whole greenhouse cleaned out now, and I've got 2 grow beds on each side, and I need to build 2 more on each side.
Okay. So, yeah, man. Just let me know what weekend you'd like to do it. I'll come and help you out.
All right. Well, I mean, if you have some of those folks that want to try to learn a little bit about aquaponics, that's cool too, because I'm sure there'll be a lot going on besides just grow bed building.
Okay. Yeah. Let's set something up, man. Let me know what would be a good weekend for you, and I will get the word out, and we'll get some.
Cool.
We'll put the word out, and we'll see who all we can get to come out and help and learn.
Fantastic, man. Well, heck, yeah, I don't know how long we've been on this thing, but I'm wearing down.
All right. Well, I am too. So we'll end it for tonight. And yeah, thanks guys for checking this out. You know, don't buy into the Palantir Panopticon, and you know, keep your head on a
It's all
swivel.
a psyop. All of it is a psyop.
It could just all be
I'm just gonna say it because it just don't.
coincidence, man.
It's all coincidence. Now, you know, it's so much of a coincidence. I quit watching the news.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right, later.